what did Esteban do, guys?
I think.
Tell Esteban to defend like a lion.
And Perez, with an extra 10 miles an hour, is forced round the outside. Well, I think...
Never in my life I saw a defense like Esteban today. Never.
Alpine has confirmed the sacking of Ocon. The Frenchman corroborated this sacking via his verified Twitter account. Before we get into how Ocon orchestrated his own downfall to become the most unlike driver on the grid, we must discuss the shambolic way in which Alpine is being run. Alpine is split in two. The French side is in charge of the core power units, while the English side is in charge of operations. These two sides are always fighting each other. According to reports, the French and English sides always book different hotels on race weekends. They don't sit together, eat together, or have any form of interaction in an obvious supremacy battle. The result has translated to an abysmal track performance where the team entered the 2024 season with a tractor that was 10 kilograms overweight. Ocon, aware of the team's woes, had approached Haas about a switch. But today, Alpine has played the reverse card on the driver. He has lost his seat and nobody wants him. Today we are going to give you a comprehensive account of how Ocon frustrated all his teammates and why we believe that at 27, this could be the end of his career. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel. Welcome to Front Lockout. Throughout the history of the sport, there has always been bad blood between teammates. Senna versus Prost. Rosberg versus Hamilton.
To the grass, and Hamilton's had a massive crash, and he's crashed into his teammate.
Verstappen versus Ricciardo. It is one thing if you have an issue with one of your teammates, but what makes Esteban Ocon special is that he is the only guy who never gets along with any of his teammates. If you have a problem with everybody, eventually you must admit to yourself that you are the problem. Today we are going to analyse all of Ocon's teammates from his first full F1 debut. Ocon has crashed into all four of them. What makes this odd is that Ocon doesn't seem like the kind of guy. He has this good boy demeanour even as a child. But behind that smile is a guy who is willing to do whatever it takes to be the better driver, even if it means crashing into his teammate. It appears that Ocon's number one goal is to finish ahead of his teammate. He is not really concerned about getting points or finishing on the podium. We take you back to the good times when the Frenchman won his solitary race in Hungary, with the help of Alonso. The year was 2021, and Hamilton, a rampaging bull, was destroying everything in his path. Nobody was his match, only a certain Spanish matador could tame the bull. Fernando Alonso, a man who raced alongside Hamilton, held the secret sauce for frustrating the Brit. As that year's Hungarian GP wore on, the only thing separating Hamilton from catching Ocon was Alonso, and when Ocon was in the lead of that race, Alonso defended Hamilton with the last drop of his blood. For an incredible 10 laps, Alonso, with a relatively rickety car compared to the Mercedes, battled Hamilton like a wildling, preventing the Brit from going after his teammate. By the end of that race, Ocon crossed the line ahead of Hamilton by almost 3 seconds. One good turn deserves another, they say, but this doesn't quite apply to Ocon. Later in that year in Qatar, Alonso, fighting for a podium, begged Ocon that he needed him to hold off Perez, telling the Frenchman to fight like a lion.
Tell Esteban to defend like a lion.
And when Perez caught up with Ocon, the Frenchman didn't even put up a fight, he simply opened the door at the first time of asking. Even with the backstab, the teammates were cool in 2021, but when 2022 season came, it was all hell from there. The rivalry picked up in the second race in Jeddah, with Ocon preferring to wear the tyres on both cars instead of giving Alonso the lead. But the real stab came in Hungary at the very circuit where Alonso helped him win the year before. In the 2022 Hungarian Grand Prix, Alonso started behind Ocon, and instead of Ocon to attack everyone ahead of him, he was busy defending his own teammate. This led Alonso to conclude that he had never encountered this sort of teammate in his over 20 years F1 career.
Never in my life I saw a defense like Esteban today. Never. On the wall, head 2, and now head 6. Never.
But before Alonso, there was Perez, and the story was the same. Both drivers crashed into each other in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix of 2017.
Madre mía, se han encontrado ya a su compañero. Sí. Madre mía. Entre ellos, sí, están.
They even clashed twice at the 2017 Belgian Grand Prix. By the next year, in 2018, it was pretty much the same thing, as highlighted by their first lap collision at the 2018 Singapore Grand Prix. Ocon was young and lovable when he raced with Perez, and it was hard to figure out who was responsible for what. But when the same antics repeated themselves with a different teammate in Fernando Alonso, that is when we started to pay close attention. And by the time Gasly became his teammate, all doubts were removed regarding who was the impossible teammate. In the 2023 Australian GP, Gasly was adjudged to have swerved into Ocon, leaving him with no room. Their next clash was in Hungary. Let's just say Ocon has a problem with a teammate getting ahead of him.
Out of position after a poor start. There goes one Alpine down the outside. I don't know if they wouldn't have touched anyway.
And here we are again in Monaco. Gasly was ahead, but Ocon couldn't just bear the thought of his teammate finishing before him. To his credit, he never crashed with Ricciardo when they both raced for Renault. The Aussie, under pressure, tapped Ocon ever so slightly, but because they were in the wet, Ocon had a spin. Now, we understand that this video looks as though all the sins of Ocon have been put in a compilation. We really want to believe Ocon is not the bad guy, but his increasing issues with his teammates are impossible to ignore. This is especially true since Alonso got along with Stroll, a guy many will claim is a spoilt kid. Gasly got along with Yuki, and I am yet to hear of a fight between Perez and Verstappen. So, the question is, why only Ocon? Ocon is a fine driver, but as it stands, it is more likely that he will retire than find another team willing to sign him. But we could be wrong. Where do you think Ocon will race in 2025? Leave us your comments. This is Front Lockout, signing out.